has produced its report which said it can't find a problem that it can solve. So it looks like it's going nowhere. The European Commission DG Home Affairs also launched a funding proposal of €6 million for cybercrime projects. And one of the projects is for self-regulatory, public-private partnership internet blocking for child abuse material or illegal content. Now this is interesting because in May of 2010, the European Commissioner responsible said, we only want to block child abuse material. And in June, her services volunteered €6 million to block, well, anything that we feel like blocking. And it is also interesting that the European Commission is proposing self-regulatory internet blocking because the 2007 strategy for combating terrorism online said that blocking must have a legal basis or it is illegal. In 2008, the European Commission launched its revised framework decision on child protection, the impact assessment of which said you must have a legal basis or it is illegal. In 2010, the European Commission is offering €6 million to undertake illegal internet access blocking. I don't know how many of these examples you want. I'll skip over the European proposals and tell you that the OECD is also having a dialogue on the role of internet intermediaries in advancing public policy objectives. The Council of Europe Parliamentary Assembly adopted a text earlier this year that there should be reflection on the legal status of certain stakeholders with regard to compliance in compliance with intellectual property law. The OSCE had a conference earlier this year on the role of internet intermediaries in dealing with hate speech on the internet. The Anti-Counterfeiting Trade Agreement contains the text on the cooperation between ISPs and the content industry in order to regulate the internet. The EU-Korea and EU-India trade deals change slightly the liability provisions of internet intermediaries in order to make it more interesting to police the internet. There is a 4-country initiative between the Czech Republic, Germany, Great Britain and the Netherlands to, and they really say this, create a cleaner internet. And if I could just give you one example quickly, a person in Malaysia created a service, an internet service for NGOs. So these NGOs have websites, email, various services provided by this individual. The individual decided in order to be safe, he would set up his service using a German ISP. This particular person decided he was going to launch a URL shortening system like bit.ly or whatever in order to provide another service for his customers. And his entire web service disappeared. So he contacted the ISP who said, well, it appears that some of your shortened URLs were being directed to child abuse material. And here are the ones that we think. And he said, well, my server doesn't work anymore. The police were not involved. No attempt was made to actually gather any evidence. So the result was that the entire service provided by this guy was deleted, and no law enforcement authority was involved, even though the accusation was that his service was being used by people abusing children. I hope that wasn't too much too quickly. Thank you.
So we heard a lot of examples now on current ongoing problems, issues around internet regulation, lawmaking, or private law enforcement. Maybe we do a first round of quick questions and answers if some things have remained unclear, but then quickly enter into a discussion on what do we learn from all that? What does it mean, for example, this forum shopping Jérémie referred to, or the private-public cooperation that Joe told us about, and the negotiations with the US, for example, Jan is involved in. What does that mean for policy making on the European level? What are the things we have to keep in mind? Okay, I see first hand there.
Yeah.
Oh wait, sorry, I forgot to mention that everything you say here is being recorded. We can't stop the recording, but
I have no problem with that.
If you don't want to be published afterwards, then just say it and we will delete the recording afterwards.
Okay. First of all, I would suggest some organizational points for the next row of workshops to reduce or to limit the introduction of talks for 15 minutes, because otherwise I think there's not many non-internet people here in the room, so we all know about many things also. First of all that. The title of this thing is called Global Web European Rules. I'm going to ask where is European inspiration? Because I think should politics perceived as the creation of society not only develop rules, but foremost should be used to create ideas for living without using law every day. Because that's what I want to do. I want to live my life without thinking about laws every day. So we have a little bit of an imbalance in the fight going on here. Well, we fight for privacy when companies or governments want to know a little bit more about us as we like. Then we fight against this very important thing about the web, sharing ideas, sharing data, connecting data when we want to do it, and governments and companies don't want that we do that. So, and Jérémie found a very nice word for that. He said counter-lobbying. And I think that makes it, and as grateful as I am that like as Jérémie or Marcus, as part of the civil society, are doing that fight, and I know it's quite time-consuming and maybe sometimes a little bit disturbing, and also Jan-Philipp doing the work as a member of parliament. But aren't we forgetting that there was the positive power of the web we used in the beginning? That's why we liked using the web as a tool for many good things. And I think we forget this if we only concentrate on fights which are given to us by others. I mean, this is important, and I think all people who do that should be supported more. But also, I mean, the digital layer of reality is the web. I mean, it's misused by companies and governments, it's fine. But we have to fight for that. But shouldn't we also advocate on a broader range for people to share thoughts and actions locally, regionally, and Europe-wide? Shouldn't we give, by example or by support programs, put more pressure to use the web positive for the people of Europe? So the keywords would be like open data, open democracy in Europe, transparency, participation is another keyword. We have maybe you know Global Voices, which is a website where bloggers translate each other. We have a similar thing going on in Europe, where European bloggers connect. There are very small and nice examples how people in different European cities and rural areas in Europe connect and show each other mutually cool examples how to use the web for positive things. Could be economically, could be civil society in the city, could be for Europe. And I didn't hear one positive word about it. The thing is, I know ACTA, I know privacy, and I know all these stories, but as long as we don't give examples for the positive use of the web and to enforce that, and that we want programs, money for positive use of the internet on the European level and also on national level, then I'm really getting sick and tired of 40 minutes talking about privacy fights, because this is not what I don't care. Yeah, that's the thing, you know. Yeah, but I think we're coming together here to think about what could Europe be on a digital layer. And if it's only fighting against governments and companies, I think this is very uninspirational. And another again, 70 minutes of wasted time thinking about privacy and ACTA. I don't know if this is what we should do only.
Okay, I think the point was well taken. Jan?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jens. Maybe we could also consider a time limit for the round of short questions when we're raising short questions. So I gather we're already in the discussion round. This was open, and I have a discussion statement to make. But first of all, I'd like to thank the three of you for bringing this to Berlin and sharing this. I thought it was long, but it was brief because it was very to the point, and there's always too little time for exchange between the different levels because there is so many things going on. Now, what I try to gather from the different examples is that we're in the interesting situation that we actually can discuss principles, and these principles are going to be put into practice and put into law. We're looking at a revision of the Data Protection Directive, we're looking at international conventions in this field and in other fields as well. The funny thing is we are trying to find principles, but nobody knows who they are. Because we think that technology is evolving so rapidly, and we assume society evolves as fast as technology, we think there must be somewhere new principles. So, my impression is that although technology moves rapidly, the principles don't change that much. And I think that, and Joe lined that up really well in his statement, because he referred to traditional principles of speedy trial, of fair treatment, and so forth, and they've been established and been around for quite a while. So if we're looking at the revision of 95/46, you see the Data Protection Directive, the right to be forgotten. It's already there. It's basically data minimization, avoidance, and collection limitations. From the legal perspective, it's in there, no new principle. Privacy by design. Look at recital 46. There is the reference to state of the art. Although we could make that more prominent, it's already there, nothing new. Now, more power to DPAs. I obviously like that. I'm working for a DPA, but looking at what my boss recently is putting on the web on data retention, I'm not so sure about that anymore. So, what could be new principles? There are a number of things that we probably could make stronger. One is the question of the civil procedures. So giving the people the power to defend themselves, and the movement for class action suits is something that could prove to be really helpful. Working for a data protection office myself, I know there is no chance that we can look into 20 to 30,000 enterprises within our state alone to check whether they're complying with data protection law. No chance. But if somebody has a problem, they can use the civil court laws and use liability to enforce these rights. A lot of companies would be really interested in getting data protection procedures fit, getting also privacy by design, because they're not running into difficulties there. Now the other issue here is clarify applicability of law. Under my understanding, if Google works and makes business here and offers this to end users, they're clearly within the scope of consumer protection law, where European law is applicable anyhow. But apparently there is some discussion around that, so we might need a clarification. But that would be easy, and there is not much controversy here actually. So these are a couple of things where I see things improving just by clarification. Now, are there any areas where there are new principles? Maybe one or two. Maybe you've already found some foundations. One could be transparency in not only the purposes of collection, but the transparency for the processes themselves. So you need to see not only what something is collected for, but how it is actually then processed. We have something in the directive already that refers to that, but that would be interesting to make it more stronger.